speaking of things you hear in the movie, what about the music? There's that one scene during the art installation when they first show up that's clearly got like a Marilyn Manson track playing in the background.
Something like that. I couldn't quite put it together. I was trying to hear it. I thought everything was appropriate. And you know what? I'm going to have to, I hate to spoil the other movie we're going to watch, but I guess that's really not a spoiler, but it might be. I can't recall with this movie at the very beginning, or if it was My Bloody Valentine 3D, if it had a similar track to Halloween. Like for a minute, I thought that John Carpenter did a piano intro. I don't know if you recall.
I don't really recall that scene, but like it did have like a little short burst of orchestral something right before it, like, you know, got into the movie proper and then started playing like the late 90s, early 2000s pop music.
Okay, so it was this movie?
What's that?
It was this movie. It was Valentine.
I think My Bloody Valentine had what you were looking for.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know that this one had one too, because it did have like a splash screen, but I don't remember.
Only one of them had it, so I couldn't remember which one it was. So that was
definitely, and we'll get into that because there's actually something I've got a note about when it comes to My Bloody Valentine 3D or 2009.
Yeah.
Specifically with that, what you're talking about. But
anyways, that's the only thing music-wise. I really thought music was appropriate. I thought that the intense music orchestra that would show, or to kind of, bring upon like suspense, anything like that, I thought that it was appropriate. I don't recall anything out of place.
No, there wasn't anything that stood out as being jokey, or like we talked about with the Asian movies where it sounds like you're listening to like a soap opera or like some kind of like, you know, I mean, if it was poppy, the scene was kind of lighthearted, you know, it kind of fit whatever the nature of the scene was. And then they had like the sharp harpsichord style, like, you know, interjections when they were needed.
Yeah. So
moving on to trivia. Mm-hmm. So at a cost of $10 million, this is the cheapest film to ever have a Super Bowl spot.
Oh, wow. Speaking of the Super Bowl.
That's appropriate for today since we're recording on the Super Bowl.
I am only partaking in the Puppy Bowl, not the Super Bowl this year. But I will watch the Rihanna concert probably.
I used to watch it for the commercials. I don't even care anymore.
Oh, the commercials are the worst now.
Yeah, they're awful.
If you did not get to see 90s and 2000s, early 2000s Super Bowl commercials, you missed out on life, and go on YouTube and find them.
Yes, they were actually a highlight that people look forward to.
Oh, yeah.
There was a lot of talk about restoring the trimmed kills and releasing a director's cut, but unfortunately it's all been from fans and Warner Bros. Cut. I think that's where this movie would improve.
Oh yeah.
If they showed the kills that were trimmed out of the movie, if they show more of the gore, this movie would go from what right now I'd probably give it. What would you give it? Around a 3.5. That's what I would give it. I mean, you know, and I'd probably bump it up to a little bit higher, maybe to a 4, because I enjoyed the movie overall. I just felt like it's a little anemic when it came to the kills.
I think that it's fair around a 3.8 because I want to give it a 4, but I don't think it deserves it because of the lack of actual like gore.
Yeah,
it lacks gore a lot. It doesn't.
4.
You don't need to have complete gore, but man, show something because the kills were pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, I mean they had like there was a lot of just brutality to the kills. If they were just like we would have seen more to them.
Yes.
You know? David Boreanaz shot his entire character role in less than 2 weeks.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not either, considering.
Yeah, he had a fairly small role, which probably tells us that he did not do the killer scenes.
I think that he was definitely not the killer in that suit. And also, that makes me think that he was probably filming this while Angel was still on the air, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Which is funny because we know for a fact that both Jensen and Jared were filming their movies, you know, while they were filming Supernatural. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
During the original casting process, Tara Reid, who previously appeared in Jamie Blank's other film, Urban Legend, played Dorothy Wheeler, but ended up being Jessica Capshaw. And then Jennifer Love Huge Tits played Paige Prescott. who ended up being. How would you have felt like if Tara Reid and then Jennifer Love Huge Tits had been in this movie instead of Denise Richards and Jessica Capshaw?
Definitely Jennifer Love Huge Tits. I could see that. I can't see Tara Reid because she wouldn't have brought the storyline of the fat girl to it very well.
And she's also Capshaw's a better actress than Tara Reid.
Yeah, like I said, she had that weird. You couldn't tell if she was drunk, pissed, both, fat. I don't know.
Yeah, and then like Tara Reid, I just feel like everything I ever saw her in, especially the American Pie movies, she just kind of like it was non-acting. Like her and the other guy that played the big jock that ended up like singing. I can't remember that actor's name, Chris something or other, but. They both were terrible actors back in the day. Like they delivered their lines in such a flat way that I can't imagine they would have been good, or she would have been good in this movie.
And it's so funny because I know the Chris you're talking about. I can't remember his last name, but he's not a memorable person. So sorry, dude.
He got better. I mean, he was in a season of The Flash, and he actually played a semi-decent good role in that as a villain. But at the same time, like his acting was just so flat back in the day. Like he didn't really. Jennifer Love Huge Tits would have been, she's a good actress, a really good actress. She would have pulled the character page off. But here's the thing, I don't know if I would have bought her as like the resting fuck me, face, like like we got with Denise Richards. Like I don't mean this in a creepy way. She had a sexuality about her, back in the day. Like, and I don't
cute, lovable, maybe.
What's that?
She was more cute, lovable. Like she could be sexy, but not.
Yeah, I always think back of Jennifer Love Hewitt as being the character that she was, and I mean, and we're covering that movie. I Know What You Did Last Summer. Not that, but in Can't Hardly Wait, she was like the love interest of the main character in that one, Ethan Embry.
Yeah.
And that's what she was like. She was sweet. She was sexy in her own way, but she was a sweet kind of like girl. And like, I don't feel like Paige that didn't fit for Paige.
The only reason I think she could have pulled it off is because I watched the show The List. I want to say it was on Lifetime.
Okay.
And she had to be sexy all the time because she was a special type of masseuse.
Oh, okay. Getting happy endings, did she?
Yes. So I saw that and I see that she could pull it off, but it's also different. She's a woman in that show. She's not a young lady.
Yeah, that was years on. This would have been right around the same time of Can't Hardly Wait and all that stuff.
So I'm with you on that one.
The stunt double for Denise Richards received multiple cuts during the scene where she's thrown into the hot tub from the jet nozzles.
Oh, shit.
That sucks.
That was real blood in there, folks. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. The studio was originally considering Jared Leto for the role of Adam, who starred in Blank's previous film Urban Legend, before going with David Boreanaz instead. Luke Wilson and Jeremy Sisto were considered for the role of Adam as well. I don't know that I would have liked Jared Leto is too method. He would have you would have pegged him as being the bad guy right from the get-go.
Yeah.
And then Luke Wilson, like he's an odd person to have been a choice for this.
Yeah.
We're not talking about Owen, we're talking about his brother, but like Luke Wilson, the brown-haired Wilson brother, like he's very sarcastic in his deliveries of stuff, I don't know that he would have fit, and I don't even know who Jeremy Sisto is, unfortunately, to rate him one way or the other. I mean, what do you think about those names?
Hold on. Let me get Jeremy Sisto's face. That it's almost an immediate no for me, not based on his looks, just the type of character I think I recall him playing. Okay, Jeremy Sisto. Not sister. Fucking Google. Oh no.
Oh yeah, I know that guy. I don't remember the movie. I've seen his face. I do remember him. No, he was always in like jokey type roles or whatever. He would not have fit that part.
Yeah, he played a good asshole, but in this movie, even though David Boreanaz played a killer, he wasn't an asshole. He was sweet and he was very polite to her friends. Even when you could tell.
I think David Boreanaz was perfect for this role. Yeah. You needed somebody who had that tortured feel to him.
Yes. And God, Angel has a tortured feel.
So long.
Yes.
he had played Angel for so long that he had that tortured soul, like,
Yes.
you know, perfected by that point.
And he was very like he could tell that in one scene that I loved, you can tell that he could tell that Kate's friend was going through a tough time, and he was not only putting off empathy, but he was putting off concern, and he was putting off caution because he looked scared at what this girl could potentially do, which made the twist kind of work a little bit. You know, he's like, that she's fucking going through it, and I just need to be really careful what I say or do around this one.
Well, and I think it's funny too. I mean, she would have discussed it with Dorothy, so it would have worked either way. But it was right after she told Adam, like, confided in that Scary Gary had been like being creepy again.
Yes.
And he had that joke or whatever. He's like, you know, she's like, and also my panties were missing. And he, to make her feel better, which actually goes to show how good an actor he is. Like he makes a joke out of it. He's like, oh, that's me with the panties. I like wearing them. They're breezy, whatever.
Yes.
Knowing well and good that he it was Scary Gary that stole the panties. But the next time you see Scary Gary, he gets caught by the killer with the panties in his hands. And the killer takes him out, and it's like, okay, that's Adam standing up for his girlfriend.
Yes. You know? Yes, 100%. So, yeah. Luke Wilson, too. I've seen him. I remember him in Home Fries, which that movie is, for a romantic comedy, I feel like that'd be right up yours and your Mrs. Alley. Maybe hers. I could be wrong, but it's very Southern. But yeah, he was just too much of a romantic and too much of a sweet guy, and Jeremy Sisto's only an asshole in my opinion. So I don't know.
Yeah,
you gotta have that balance.
Luke Wilson was also in Legally Blonde with Reese Witherspoon, as we were talking about Reese Witherspoon earlier. That's funny.
Yeah. Wait a second. Okay, now as for Jared Leto, he can be sexy in his own weird, I run a cult kind of way.
He can also play tortured. I'll give him that. Because he can play that. But
can he play a romantic? Have we ever seen that? I've never seen it.
Anytime he does romantic, he does a weird twist on it.
Yeah.
And I think it would have been so weird. You would have gotten who Adam was like way before the end reveal, which I think helps the movie out because you can look at David Boreanaz and be empathetic to him. I don't know that I could have been empathetic to Jared Leto. He's a little too strange with the way that he takes on these roles.
Yeah. I don't think I see anything of it. And it's so hard because like we said already, like we've established David Boreanaz, he killed it in this role. No pun intended.
I got to give him credit. I was going to this movie thing that was going to be hot shit,
Same.
just like and then I watched it and I'm like, it's got legit good qualities to it. I mean, it might not be the best, slasher out there, but it's definitely not the bottom by any means. I mean,
and the most important thing, it holds up.
It does. I mean, this many years on, I mean, it's 22 years later, and it's as sad as that is. I mean, 2001 feels like it was just yesterday. But.
Yeah. And there's not very many Valentine slashers or scary films, really. There really isn't. So I think that's the best part is like it has its own genre, its own holiday. There's one or two other films, literally.
Yeah. Jessica Caulfield remarks that her favorite scenes to film were her on-screen with her on-screen boyfriend Johnny Whitworth. While most actors get exhausted filming kissing scenes after several takes, Caulfield said she had no such issue because Whitworth was a great kisser.
Whore.
And that's funny because I thought that Lily and her boyfriend were some of the cringiest parts of the movie.
Yes.
I will give them this though. That chick that was like, watching and like semi, pleasuring herself to them, two of them making out. She was kind of hot, like that chick was. Like, I mean, she didn't amount to anything because she got pissed off and left. But
yeah.
I mean,
she was definitely ratchet hot. Like she, she was DTF. So I mean, she's not my type.
Quite a bit.
And then I instantly got jealous. So I was like, it's a no from me.
One of the very few trailers for a theatrical film to feature a female narrator. So there you go. That's kind of cool.
Wait, female narrator?
Yeah, the trailer for this movie.
Holy shit! I gotta check that out. I never even. Oh my god, didn't know.
If he could do it all over again, Jamie Blanks said he would cut back on the cheap scares and broad humor in the film.
No.
I think it was fine. I mean, for what it did, I mean, the humor might have made it a little too light at times, but I don't think this is the kind of movie that needed to be super dark either.
No, I mean, I barely noticed, so I think it was just enough. That's just me.
Yeah, I think it's probably one of those things years later he looked and he's probably just like second guessing what he did at the time. It happens to a lot of creators. I mean, if you go back and listen to Carpenter, he doesn't really like anything he did in Halloween, and everybody, says that's one of the best movies ever. It's like, well, there's many things I could have done better. It's like, yeah, knowing what you know now, but I mean, you did the best movie you could at the time, with what skills you had. You got to recognize that and move on.
When it comes to this kind of stuff, here's the thing. We're fans at the end of the day, and people are going to like different things. So who the fuck am I to tell you as a creator how you need to fucking do something? I'm really nobody. I'm just somebody that's watching a film, and if I enjoy it, I do. If I don't, I'll say why I don't. But most importantly, who the fuck are you to tell me what I like as a creator? Like, you're a creator. Who the fuck are you? Yeah, you're creating something, but you're just creating something that at the time works for you. Don't fucking tell me what I like or what I need. That's rude.
Well, it's kind of like too that I hate this when creators do this, the tangent, but they'll put out there that they have their own interpretation of what the movie's supposed to be about, and what the meaning and the symbols and all that, and then they get mad at the audience when the audience takes in a different direction. The best creators go the opposite route, and they say, this is what my intention was, but I think it's cool as shit that everybody else got this entirely different meaning based upon their life. I'll give you an example, like Pearl Jam, Eddie Vedder or whatever. That one song, I'm Still Alive or whatever, he was talking about, like, the whole song's about the fact that he found out at that point in his life that he'd been adopted and never knew that he was adopted his entire life. And his adopted father was dying or whatever. But he said that everybody else is taking that song as almost like an anthem for life. It's like, I've been through all this shit, but I'm still alive. Like that's the, and he says he loves that. He's like, the song has it means more to him because the audience interpreted it from a different point of view. I love it when creators do that.
Yeah. So I think it might be, here's my dumb explanation to explain it away. I'm not agreeing with creators who go the opposite route at all, because I think it's a dickhead move. And I think it's technically their fault, but they also blame themselves, because I think what the issue they're having is that they feel like they failed to portray what they wanted to portray. They failed at their project, even though that's not necessarily a failure. Yeah, you can't control what people are going to take from it. If you think you can, you're not God. But maybe also you didn't do a good job portraying what you wanted, and that's why we picked up something else.
I agree with what you say, but also I feel like that's the beauty in art is that, like they say, it's in the eye of the beholder. It's like you grant things to, like, pieces of art, music, whatever, that are from your own experience, and like that's why you connect with it. I think that's more fascinating thing about art, is that it can be interpreted that way, as opposed to, like, it's kind of boring if, like, you look at something and, like, some of these critics do, and they're like, well, clearly this person meant for this to be a treatise on blah blah blah. It's like, okay, boring dude. It's like that's fine if that's what you want to do, but, like, I mean, the fact that somebody else saw this and they, like, took this movie and they saw, like, female empowerment where maybe it wasn't necessarily meant to be that way. It's like, that's cool. That's they saw something different. I don't know. I just think that's kind of shitty whenever, like, the artist goes back and they're mad at the person viewing it for not picking up the themes that they put in there, themselves. It's like, okay, you've lived a different life. You're going to have a different interpretation than what we do. Yeah.
I think part of the funnest parts of this show in particular is when you and I do not agree at all. It's so funny. Like, because it's like, and it's funny, even funnier. It's even better when we don't expect it. It's a genuine shock.
Yeah, and well, and it gives you something to play off of. That's always the
Yes.
fun thing. It's like, okay, why I did not expect this, but it's interesting to see that point of view, like why you felt that way about something, especially like knowing you hate a slow burn, but then like whenever a slow burn actually is something you like, it's like very interesting why that one suddenly took versus the other ones that didn't.
Yeah, it's I'm a unique one because I think at this point, you and my husband pretty much expect me to hate everything, or not hate everything, but just not be impressed so much by everything. So there's that.
Well, I'm not going to lie. I went in this movie thinking I was just going to be bored to tears, and I watched it, and I'm like, that's not bad. I mean, like, I came out the other side of this movie, because for years I'd avoided this movie, honestly, because when it came out, like, everybody dogged it. Like, it was one of those ones at the time period. And horror was like, post Scream, it was really big. And like, there was a lot of these Me Too movies that came out, not Me Too in the sense of, the whole movement, but Me Too in the sense of they glommed on, to Scream. And, and a lot of them got pushed to the wayside, and some of them, became cult favorites like Valentine, but like I never went back to it just because I was like, oh, well, that came out and like it, was dogged in the day. But then I go back and watch it, and I'm like, it really wasn't that bad for what it was.
Yeah. I'm gonna say I genuinely enjoyed this one. It was definitely a slash for me, and not a pass for sure. And I'm with you. I did not expect this to be good. I thought David Boreanaz was going to be super flat, and he was flat. But he just worked so well. He's definitely got a craft in flat delivery,
Yeah, it's flat, but with layers. It's the weird. It's flat on the surface, but then when you get to like looking at how he delivered it, it's actually got like, it's not like flat in the delivery, like say Tara Reid, where you get like a monotone, like, this is straight what I'm going to deliver. If I'm supposed to be pissed off, then I'm slightly louder and, more forceful in my speech. It's like, he's got undertones to it. Cause like, if he wants you to be empathetic to him, he kind of like softens his voice up a little bit, or if he wants to be more of like hardcore, like like an Angel, if you want to be more like forceful with it, he like there was a power behind his voice, even if it's like on the same keel all the time.
Well, what's funny is, going back to what Jamie Blank said, is that he said he'd cut back on the cheap scares and the humor in the film. But it was David Boreanaz trying to be humorous in this film that gave you even more empathy for him. Because here he is, this big, brooding-looking guy, but he's telling goofy dad jokes and saying goofy things, and you're like, aw, what a nerd,
Yeah, and it's the one thing that kind of makes you empathetic and kind of steers you off from, because from the get-go, it's like, okay, Adam's going to be the killer. He's one of the guys in the movie, so obviously, but then like they make him so empathetic, that like, okay, all right, maybe he's not. Maybe it's one of these other guys, because the rest of the guys are shit.
God, they have some creepy guys in this fucking film. And I tell you what, like, Dorothy really built up that bitch mode really well. That I could care less when she died. I was like, well, she's a fucking cunt. So, and she's a little psycho.
That's actually a good segue to the next point. Jamie Blanks pointed out the difficulty of juggling the red herrings, as every time he showed the killer, he had to be sure to account for other possible suspects to keep audiences guessing. And his quote is, and that's really tough when you only have your leading man for 10 days.
Yeah.
To film. And we kind of discussed it. There's a little bit of an issue there with the height, but he films it in such a way that he's not directly like the girls. Like the killer's not right behind them, so you don't really get the height sense from the killer. It was shot in 42 days, which is very short time for filming. Surprisingly well done for that amount of time, to be honest. When director Jamie Blanks first got the script, he assumed it was a reboot of My Bloody Valentine from 1981 and initially passed on it. Ironically enough, a reboot did happen, which came out in 2009, and we will be discussing that next episode. Marley Shelton discovered while filming the speed dating scene that she was allergic to synthetic wool, which was the material her scarf was made of, which made the scene agonizing for her to film.
What? Speed dating.
So much.
Okay. What the fuck, though? What is going on in Hollywood that these actresses that are in shoes that hurt, or a scarf that's making you fucking want to rip the skin off of your neck? What's up with not being able to say, hey, something's not right. This is hurting me a lot.
Yeah, they could have changed the fabric to something else. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe she felt like she was too young because she mentions like this is one of the first movies she really got like out of like college and film school and all the other stuff. So maybe she was too afraid to say anything. But by all of the descriptions between her, Denise Richards, and Caulfield, they all described Jamie Blanks as being like this super cool and nice guy that like worked with them like on everything. So
that's
he
so
would have
weird.
been okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, like, and did you have to have the fucking scarf? You know?
They also brought up in that interview, they were talking about the speed dating scene. They said that it really like cements the time period as like the late 90s before the internet really became a thing, because, speed dating like had a short stint there and then it came and went, because now, like people started meeting on like social media sites and like it just died as quickly as it, came about. So,
yeah, I can honestly say I never partook in that. Thank God. I get to know you in less than
a few movies from back in the day, and it always looked ridiculous.
I think the best one though was definitely 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yeah, that was a whole faux show.
Yes. You got to meet Gina.
When he was like talking to Gina.
Gina, like, yeah, I was going to say he met Gina, and she's like, it's Gina actually.
She's like, I'm not really into guys, but I'm willing to try it with you.
Oh my God. He should have rode that horse. Oh man.
Let's just say, let's pour one out for comedies. Like, comedy's dead, folks. It's sad to say, but I miss those old comedies from like, early to mid 2000s. Like they were some of the best. Many publications, this is what I was going on earlier, incorrectly stated that the film's budget was $20 million range, but its actual budget was $10 million, which necessitated shooting a majority of it in Canada.
Oh, of course.
Which goes Canadians. Back to the whole Hallmark thing, because Hallmark is filmed in Canada, and that's why they, have all the same actors and actresses in all their movies.
With their $500,000 budget, and I bet you it's in the millions, but I'm sure they banked just fine on majority of those films.
Oh, well, yeah. They don't have to really pay writers because it's the same basic, like 3 or 4, story thing. It's they spend all their money on the actors and actresses. And I mean, really, do they have to spend that much? Because a lot of them are like post the prime of their career, so they're just kind of like, And
I guarantee you, their prime market is the women whose men are just as bad as the movies. Trash, okay? They got trash men in their lives, so they need this trash movie to make up for the trash they're having to clean up in their real life. They're like, oh, well, I wish my trash was like this trashy film, a little more romantic,
Yeah, it's just they're missing that little bit of a spark or whatever, so that's what they're going for with it. This film is credited as being based on Tom Savage's novel, but producer Dylan Sellers optioned it solely for the title. Dylan saw the title, liked the title, and said, I don't want to make that story. I want to make something else. I don't know how I'd feel if I was the guy, Tom Savage. I'd be like, okay, well, I got paid for it. That's good at least. But I mean, story just got like, name dropped and that's it.
Yeah. I feel like I'd be butthurt, but how big is this paycheck? Because that might ease the pain a little bit.
Yeah, I think the paycheck was probably enough to where he was fine with it.
And if they were open with me about it, meaning, hey, so here's the sitch. We are taking the title of your story only. And we don't like what else you put out, but here's a paycheck. Have a great day. If they were open, I guess I can't complain,
Here's the thing. The story had to have been at least partially because if it was completely different and they just wanted to use the title Valentine, they could have made that movie without even paying him anything. So they had to have took something else.
Yeah, I'm thinking the Cupid mask, maybe the Valentine's cards.
Maybe that, or just the fact that it's a killer based on Valentine's Day, which even then you would think that that's so vague that they could have made that movie without having to pay him either. But I mean, he got lucky. He got paid for basically nothing in that case.
Let me see. I want to get horror book. Hold, please. Okay, Tom Savage. I just want to get... Okay, what is the plot of Valentine Tom Savage? Loosely based on the novel. Nope, just kidding. I want the novel. Anyways, go ahead. I'm just going to research this while you're continuing.
Okay, so the maggots in the candy scene with Lily Voigt was inspired by a childhood incident involving director Don Coscarelli when he saw his father eating a candy bar in the dark, and all of a sudden he started spitting it out, and his dad started screaming it was loaded with ants.
Ew. Okay, but that's way better than maggots.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Ants are actually a food that the World Economic Forum would prefer that we eat,
yes,
as opposed to maggots.
I don't like it.
Klaus Schwab, you fucking piece of shit. Anyways, Denise Richards was cast in the film without an audition.
Oh, of course.
Hey, listen, if you were around this time, if you had Denise Richards even attempting to be in your movie, I mean, just her looks alone was enough to sell it to a lot of horny guys.
Yeah, that's true.
I would have just hired her too. Katherine Heigl has disowned this film, claiming that she hates it. She didn't read the whole script before accepting her role, only the scenes containing her character. In a 2005 magazine interview, she said she regretted the decision to appear in the film after seeing the final cut.
Oh, damn.
That's just sour grapes, because I don't know what she thinks she's done, but like, I mean, I don't feel like her role was that terrible or that, you know, I don't even like offensive in any way, shape, or form that it would. I mean, she wasn't poorly acting in the role. They didn't graphically like destroy her character in any way, shape, or form. Like, what would she be like so adamant against? I mean,
why does she does this? This is not the first film she's done this with. Do you remember the whole Knocked Up?
I'm surprised that Knocked Up isn't one that she absolutely, because that movie, I could see why she would argue against that movie.
She did. You don't remember that?
I vaguely remember her bitching about something about that, but I don't really remember like the context behind it.
Yeah, she talked so much shit about what's his name? Is it Judd Apatow?
Yeah, Judd Apatow.
Which I heard he's fucking amazing to work with, but that's neither here nor there. She probably didn't like the actor who was who played her chubby baby daddy.
Seth Rogen, which I've got a story about that, but go ahead.
Yeah, so she probably maybe had issues with him. I'm not sure. But then had beef with everyone on the fucking set. Everyone didn't like her on the set. And I'm sure
I did hear that. That's what I heard. Is that she was a bitch to everybody on set. That's what it was.
Yeah, and then she started talking mad shit. Now, she did recant on it later and apologized to Judd Apatow and did say, you know, he was great, and, you know, I don't know what the fuck she was going through, but it seems like she does this to a few films. She might want to check herself before she wrecks herself. But before you go into that, I do have the synopsis of the book.
Okay, go ahead.
Very short. It won't take long, but so this is best-selling author Jillian Talbot has it all. A fabulous, successful career, a handsome and attentive lover, lots of friends, and a secret admirer. He calls himself Valentine, but behind his cryptic words, which is probably the Valentine cards, hides the twisted mind of a killer. Now this faceless madman is writing the final scene for Jill. It is almost Valentine's Day, almost time to die.
That sounds like an interesting concept for a movie.
Yes.
If they just wanted to go back and make that movie itself.
Yes.
I mean, that would be fine.
100%. So, anyways, I wanted to throw that out there. I would have liked that. I'm not going to pretend like I wouldn't.
What I was going to say about Seth Rogen is that he had another actress recently come out and say something similar to what you were saying Katherine Heigl said. Emma Watson, who played Hermione Granger in Harry Potter, came out as she was in that movie, This Is the End. My wife told me this story recently. And Emma Watson came out and said that she absolutely hates the fact that she was in that movie and wishes she hadn't done her scenes. And I'll give her credit because she has legit reasons why she did this. So she's only in the beginning of the movie. She plays she's kind of like this strong psychotic like version of herself, because they're all playing themselves, and This Is the End.
Yeah,
it's set in like the apocalypse, and they're all like, Rogan and all the people that he was friends with at the time, because he's disowned Franco since then. anyways, like she breaks in there and like she's gone the next morning and she stole some stuff from them. Well, apparently she only read her scenes because she went back and watched the movie later and found out there's a scene later in the movie, like shortly after that they were all upset that Emma had left because they all planned on raping her.
Oh shit.
According to the way that they say in the movie. She said that offended her because she said that she'd never done the movie if she that was even implied that that's what they were going to do to her character, and B, she was supposed to have popped up later on in the movie in a scene where Channing Tatum, or where she was going to be one of the cannibals in the movie that they see later when Danny McBride or whatever comes out, and he's got Channing Tatum as like his gimp that he's been fucking.
My God.
She said that when she read the scene that Channing Tatum was going to be humping Danny McBride's leg, she said, "I'm out. Like this, fuck this movie." Like I can't blame her between the fact that her character was basically going to be raped in the movie and the whole Danny McBride scene. I feel like that's more legit than anything Katherine Heigl had to say about her, knocked up.
100%. Okay, was this supposed to be like a horror comedy?
It is, yeah. There's one scene where what's that? Seth, whatever his name is, that's that's in all those movies with them, like the one that's in Superbad. Anyways, like he gets possessed by a demon, like because it's set in like the Christian apocalypse, like all the people called to heaven, that were going to go to heaven, and now they're what's left, and most of Hollywood, and they're in Hollywood, so of course degenerates are there, and which, I mean, to be fair, they're not wrong, but I mean, it's.
I'm sorry, this film sounds funny.
It is funny. I mean, it actually is. It's just there is some stuff in it, and I could see Emma Watson like having a reason why she was upset that she associated herself with it after the fact if she didn't read any more than that. But who doesn't read the rest of the script? I mean, you don't want to take on a role like that.
Yeah, because you don't know. Oh, I don't know, but I mean, sounds like a hard lesson learned.
Well, I think she also just got out of Harry Potter and like she was trying to establish herself in Hollywood, and I think that was her end. Like they
Well, there you go, Emma.
Anyways, going back to this movie, Richard Kelly, who is the director of Donnie Darko, was originally offered the chance to direct, but he turned the offer down. Now that would have been an interesting movie because that guy has got some weird takes on films. So I would have been interested to see what that did.
Yeah.
Jamie Blanks was inspired by Jack Shoulder's film Alone in the Dark, 1982, for the killer's bloody nose gag. That's probably going to be an Attack of the Bees at some point this season because that is a pretty big one. It's got the guy who played Loomis in the original Halloween, and it's got several other famous actors at the time, and it's kind of a slasher type film. Something else I was going to say earlier that I don't think I did. The way that they designed the character in this movie reminded me a lot of the Giallo type killers back in the 70s because it was just like a masked killer with black gloves and a black trench coat.
Yeah.
It was very close to that look. Blanks tried to avoid overly referential dialogue so as not to compete with the likes of Scream, but he couldn't resist having Kate refer to Adam by saying he's no angel, which my wife immediately picked up on and laughed at.
Oh my God, I did not catch that at all.
Yeah, she's telling her friend, she's like, well, he's no angel, but he's not a killer. And it's like, he's not an angel.
Shut up.
Hetty Barres, who played Ruthie, originally auditioned for Jessica Capshaw's role of Dorothy. And Caulfield originally auditioned for Denise Richards' role of Paige. I feel like they cast that right because I can't see either one of them in the different roles.
Absolutely not.
Well, Ruthie was kind of a bitch, so she might have worked for Dorothy, but I feel like Capshaw did a better job of portraying that. Yeah,
I think she did. I cannot see Jessica Caulfield, doing Paige's role at all.
She didn't have the looks.
She's
I don't want to say
cute.
that about her, but I feel like it's funny because Dorothy's supposed to be the ugly duckling of the group, and I feel like Caulfield was the one to me that was.
See, you say you don't want to say it, but I absolutely fucking will. She was not cute at all.
And she's one of she's aged the hardest of the three that was on that group too, because Marley looks almost exactly the same.
I
like
bet.
She's barely aged. Denise Richards, now Denise looks rough in her own way. Like you can tell she's had work done, but she's pretty, but like there's the wrinkles are there and all that, whereas Marley has none. And then like Caulfield's kind of like, oh, okay, like I don't know how you were the hot girl back in the day. You know?
Yeah, you're right. Denise Richards is looking rough. I mean, she doesn't have too much work done. She's trying to age gracefully. Well, I just don't want her to get any more work done because it's just going to widen her face, trying to stretch out what's going on. It's like, just do your best, girl,
Yeah, Marley Shelton looks like she's just aged like maybe 5 to 7 years since she was in this movie. Like you can tell that she's like, she's got more of a filled out face, like, older in the sense of like looking more like a woman than a younger girl like she did, or, early 20s like she did in this. But like there's no wrinkles. Like, I mean, if she's doing Botox, it's working for her. Like she looks younger,
She's just aging gracefully. Who is this? Oh, her husband's a producer. Okay. If they're still married.
Oh, and one thing I was going to say is that Marley Shelton's first role or first thing she had to do to audition for this job, her scene that she had to use to audition was with David Boreanaz. They had the same agent at the time. And they had to enact that scene toward the end of the movie where she kicks him in the nuts. She's got to act like she's empathetic toward him, and all that. And then she, kind of, kicks him in the nuts and runs off. She had to film that. That was the very first scene and interaction she had with David Boreanaz, period.
Oh, that's funny.
This movie. And she said it's funny too, because he's like, they've been friends since then because they share the same agent, or did at one point in time. But she said he's also like a really good friend of her husband's. So like she sees him all the time. So like, I mean, like she's very close to David even after this movie.
Yeah.
Jessica Caulfield was cast in the film after her work in Urban Legend's final cut. Jamie Blanks had previously directed the first film, Urban Legend. Blanks wanted cinematographer Rick Boda for Urban Legend, but the timing didn't work out, so he again asked for him on this film. The studio told him that Boda had actually been pitching to direct this film, but Blanks convinced him to shoot the film with him instead, and then Boda went on to make his debut with Hellraiser Hellseeker, which is one of the Hellraiser movies that I'm not familiar with, and they're good strength. There's a good portion of the Hellraiser movies that are garbage, so I hope that's not one of his.
Yeah.
Blanks wanted Rebecca Gayheart to play one of the women, but despite their shared Urban Legend experience, she turned me down because she didn't want to be typecast in horror movies. There you go, folks. Like, they don't want to be typecast.
Okay, Noxzema, bitch.
Ironically enough, Gayheart would go on to star in Santa's Sleigh in 2005. So even though she told him she didn't want to be they always come back. They always like, it wasn't that bad. It's like, of course it wasn't.
I'm going to be honest with you. I think she made a big mistake.
I think so too, because I feel like this would have been one of the ones that, because Santa's Sleigh, I don't even know what that is, but I mean, Valentine, everybody, it's enough of a classic that people know about it, Around 40 minutes in, the filming of the outdoor scenes were continuously interrupted by a real asshole, according to Jamie Blanks, who kept laying on his car horn until they paid him to stop. This happened in Canada, so Blanks speculated it was a visiting American tourist.
What the fuck? Paid them to stop? I would have been like, police.
Yeah, I'd been like, get this motherfucker out of here. What the hell,
Security.
guys?
Security.
Security. Marley Shelton took inspiration from Mia Farrow, of all people, and her films, especially Rosemary's Baby, to prepare for a role. Like, and that sounds pretentious, but like she described it in the interview, and it makes more sense. She wanted like that wide-eyed, like naive, but like almost trusting type, character that Mia Farrow had through most of the movie before she realized that her husband was a piece of shit and all that stuff. And I get it. I mean, and that's kind of how she needed the character to be, because, I mean, if she started suspecting Adam from the get-go, then that would have made the film, harder to play out the way that it did. I'm going to
be honest with you. I can 1,000% see this. I think she did an amazing job, and I think it was great inspiration. I think it really worked for this film. Or in general, if that's how she, well, I guess she did it specifically for this film, but I think that was a very good call.
I agree. I think that I mean, it was what she needed it to be for the film. And,
Yes.
And she, I mean, even though there's this weird things about her, and we'll get into that here in just a second, the awards, as far as the final girl, like she did end up making me ultimately sympathetic toward her as a character. So she succeeded. All right, moving on to Death Holler Awards, final girl. What do you think about Kate?
I think she is one of the smartest girls, final girls so far, because she has an explanation for everything. When she's clearly scared of him, when she kicks him in the nuts, she is able to explain it away and make it seem real, and he's falling for it.
I agree with that. I also agree that, like, I mean, she's like literally in the arms of the killer the entire movie, not realizing it. And she does a good enough, I mean, she does the perfect balance between like kind of suspecting him, but then trying to give him a bit of the doubt. And like, you know, she, and as far as like, I mean, and she shows that even if that scene is gross and it's stupid in its own way, I mean, I agree with what you said though, like it being, you know, like, she's not a guy in the sense or a seasoned woman to know that the tank would have the clean water. She shows she's resourceful. Like she had to have her hair washed out. So toilet it is, you know, and that also shows she's not above getting dirty to do what needs to be done. So
she's a fighter when she's fighting. She's a lover when she's loving. And I will give her this. Yes, she is bamboozled, but that is easy to fall for. Like he saved her life. She had a poker face and so did he, in different ways. Her poker face was, I'm suspecting you of being the killer, but I'm not showing you that I think that. And his poker face is, I'm the killer, but I'm never going to reveal that card to you. And I could totally see, it makes sense that he was able to get her to believe that it was her friend, because her friend even accused him in a kind of a almost belligerent type of way. Like I said, you didn't know if Dorothy was drunk at the time or just mad, and she was kind of spewing crazy things and kind of giving crazy vibes. So when the quotation mark killer was revealed to be Dorothy, even though we know that that's not the case, I could see that, you know.
I think she walked a very fine line and succeeded in both being like, she's one of those final girls that's the fun, flirty ones, but I mean, it clearly, you know, shows her sexual side at times. I mean, some of the kisses she has in the movie are very like you can tell she's down the clown, but then like other times she plays a virginal character at times. Like there's, especially in comparison to Paige, like when they're on screen together, it's like, okay, Paige, you're too much of a whore. That's not who I am, you know. And she sticks to her one guy, even, you know, so I mean she plays that part of it too, you know, pretty well.
She comes off very young and naive, like you said. I mean, there's some stupid moments for sure, but in terms of survival, she knows how to do it. And he's a good-looking killer. Can you really be mad at him like forever? He's a sweet guy.
We're going to discuss good-looking killers in the next episode for sure. But yeah, he's one of them. He's like, I mean, you can understand her being, you know, like more believing. I mean, even if that is a shitty thing, you know, somebody's better looking, you're going to be less likely to suspect them of stuff like this.
Yeah, so. I mean, a hot pass.
Speaking of the slasher, what'd you think of like just the look and like, you know, how it was portrayed?
I give it a 100%. I mean, we talked about the things that were not perfect, you know, in terms of height and width and stuff like that, but it does fucking work. I want to say something real quick though, because it is in terms of the slasher. So this is more shit to fucking throw our minds off. I talked to you about the height of the killer because I really don't think that the height portrays what fell onto Kate. I feel like the person was definitely taller, even though the actress that is supposed to be in the killer's costume is shorter than Kate, a.k.a. Marley Shelton. But also, let's talk about the width difference in the size of clothing that David Boreanaz wears versus Dorothy, and how this costume fit her almost perfectly.
Yeah, I mean that one was kind of a weird, like, thing. I mean, if you want to explain a way that somehow he like stuffed the clothing a little bit, but I mean that would have been apparent. Like when he started shooting her, there would have been like like stuffing or something come out, or some kind of nonsense. And it would have been too apparent, to I mean, so even if he didn't do that, like she should have been like, if she was in his clothes, assuming that he wasn't, and he might have been smart enough to have like a totally different sized outfit just for Dorothy. But assuming that wasn't the case, like she would have been like, the opposite of fat guy in a little coat, it'd been like she'd just been swallowed whole by his outfit.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I guess she was. There's no way. I don't care how fat she was supposed to be in this film. Allegedly, the bigger girl, it wouldn't work. So that was just something that I kind of noticed in terms of the slasher / costume. I don't know, man. Part of me wants to believe that maybe she was kind of playing a sick, twisted joke on her friend, and it went horribly wrong. But we'll never know.
Yeah, well, I mean, we won't know. I mean, if she did do that, and it was like her way of getting back at Kate somehow for something, then it just played into Adam's whole entire thing, or Jeremy's, however you want. I mean, whatever is I guess Jeremy's dead naming him at that point.
Yeah,
whatever,
dead naming.
I think it's a good look. Like I said, for the killer, I think that the kills were suitably brutal, like we discussed. It gave me a lot of Giallo vibes. I mean, it definitely had that old the 70s, like put on a mask of some kind, black trench coat, leather gloves. It's a simple look, but it works.
Yeah, gelatos for sure.
What do you think the best kill was for you?
It was I thought it's definitely between the shower glass scene for me and Paige. I think I'm going to go with the shower glass scene, though. I was just the most excited for it.
Yeah, it was set up pretty well. The character was asking for it by being a total cunt to everybody involved. It was good.
And I had some suspicions about her. How did she know where homie's room was? How did she know she was going through his bag? Well, I guess she knows what his bag looks like, so there's that. Because she seemed to find it pretty easily. And then she's going through, like, she found the watch. And, like, what were her intentions? I almost was like, are we going to find out that they were kind of in on something together? But we never got that.
It was either they never said anything. It was either she was in with him on the grift that he was trying to pull on Dorothy, or she had been grifted herself. And so she was trying to get hers back, what she was due or something. Like, I mean, or maybe she was in on the grift originally and he cut her out, because he was talking on the phone to somebody and he said he would get the money soon, and that never went anywhere. So I don't know what was going on with that, but yeah, it was kind of a weird one. For me, I would say that the arrows to the chest is one of the ones that's up there, even though it wasn't like necessarily the most original or anything like that. It's just thematically, I mean, Cupid arrow makes perfect sense.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think. Oh my god, my dumbass did not even fucking put that together.
But then Paige in the with the drill in the hot tub. I mean, that was one of the bigger kills in the movie. I agree with you that the shower scene was good too, but this is one where I think that just the addition of the electricity and kind of how, like, I mean, not to say that Paige was like deserving of it, but like, she was one of the ones that on, definitely on the side of, like, if anybody in this movie is going to get killed, it's going to be her, and they kind of saved her for one of the last few, so she at least got her due on that.
Yeah, it was, to me, it was kind of funny how it was one too many holes in the plexiglass above her, because obviously if it was real glass, it would have just shattered, but no, it just made these really nice holes, and it finally got her. And I'm like, okay, it's opening up. He's opening up the case. He's going to fucking just drill it. And I was like, oh, wait, you can't do that, because it makes sense, because, if he had gone in there with the drill, he would have got shocked. So he just like, fuck you, and threw it in there. I was like, oh, this is better than I anticipated. Like,
well, and here's two, thematically, her kill is good in another way, because you think about it, she's supposed to be the whore of the group, okay?
Yeah.
Hot tubs, promiscuity, sex in a hot tub. I mean, so that's fitting that the whore would, or quote unquote, would die in the hot tub. But also he's drilling her, into her multiple times. I mean, getting drilled. I mean, come on.
Shut up.
I'm serious. Like, I'm sure that's what the Blanks was thinking whenever he,
That's
made
so
that,
funny.
as the kill.
Well, he was definitely thinking, was it Jawbreakers? Is that the swim scene? Or not Jawbreakers? What's the sex scene that you guys all fucking love from the 90s she was in?
Wild Things.
Wild
yeah.
Things. It definitely, she had the slick back wet hair. She's in the
Yeah,
water.
she did.
I was
Yep.
like, oh, they're bringing it around downtown,
As far as best scream, I don't think any really stood out to me in this movie.
No.
Maybe Katherine Heigl's at the beginning. I mean, right before she had her throat slit.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I mean,
that's the only one that stands out to me.
because I mean, Kate didn't really have a reason to scream. Like, she was the only person she really fought in the movie was Adam, and she was too familiar with him to, scream. Like, I mean, and even when she noticed all the dead bodies, it was more of like a, like it wasn't really a scream or anything.
Mm-mm. So yeah, it's gonna have to be what's her name, Katherine Heigl.
Yeah. Best boobs. This is a damn shame. You have Denise Richards in the movie, and she doesn't show her breast. I call foul on everybody involved in this movie.
We didn't get bare breasts, but she was on prominent display in the jacuzzi with a little jiggle going on in her bikini top.
And to be fair, Kate's outfit, because even that creepy guy who was actually Lily Voigt's like boyfriend in real life commented on how well Marley Shelton was filling out her costume or her dress at the end of the movie. So
yeah, that's
we
true.
didn't get to see them that way.
Yeah, we just got to see a lot of boob form, but no naked boobs.
Yeah. How annoying is Doom Prophet? There's not really one in the movie. I mean, Paige is the only one who's even halfway, because she's the only one that's like, JM, is that Jeremy Melton, the dork that we, she's the only one that kind of even halfway, links that. So,
well, even Dorothy with it could be so-and-so, it could be him, it could be your man. Like, that was so random. It's not like she was wrong, though.
No, she wasn't. Best side character. I put in here Jason just because the goofy ass speaking in third person. Like, I mean, he's just such a creep that, like, I mean, he's like the epitome of, like, why women might hate men. Like, I'll go give him credit for that. He also gets the Franklin Award for that too. But anyways.
Oh God. For me, it's going to be Brian, Meat Slap Brian, because the man knows what he wants, and by golly, did he fucking get it.
That's true. I mean, he did everything but say "suck me beautiful."
Yeah,
like
he
Chris
said
did,
wax it, and like he got exactly what he asked for.
Wax it, and then that was smart on her behalf. I actually grew in my esteem just quite a bit more because she actually gets the wax out, and I'm like, touche. You really did wax it.
She didn't use enough wax. There was so many candles. She had so many more opportunities. I would have had the shaft and balls covered. He said, you're a kinky bitch. Well, let's find out how kinky you are.
I knew where that was going as soon as she started tying him up, because every movie, if the guy gets like tied up and left, but whenever she also applied the pain, I was like, I got to give you credit, Paige. You're not a one note, just tease and a bit of a bitch. She's actually smart in how she goes about her stuff.
I just want to know where the magical matching scarves came from to tie him up at every bedpost.
Well, I mean, was that supposed to be Dorothy's room? Because I feel like it was. So that means that Dorothy was into that stuff.
Could have been, yeah. I mean, like they weren't right there necessarily. It's just you just so happen to see her using them.
One other best side character that we've completely forgot this woman because she's only in it for a split second is Dorothy's mother-in-law. Her stepmom. I'm sorry, stepmom. The mail order bride from hell, as she calls her.
Me love you long time.
Yeah, I mean, she's a good-looking woman. I'll give her credit for that.
And she played her role well.
Yeah, and she gave shit to Dorothy, so there's kudos for that.
Yeah, that's true.
I had that in the trivia, and I cut it out. Like, whatever she says, like somebody did break that down and like actually define what she said to her in Cantonese or whatever it was. But,
I think going back real quick to honorary Franklin Award, I really think that Dorothy does kind of get that for everything she pulled with what's his name? Not Cameron. He had a weird C name, I think. Campbell, by just his fucking lame story of, oh, well, my roommate didn't pay rent and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah.
And he just shows up with a bag. No, you don't have to give me a room. Even though he has everything he fucking owns in a bag, like ready to stay there with her. And she's just falling for everything.
But that also goes to show that she's still holding out, which is actually psychologically a very good, like, part of the character. She still got that ugly duck syndrome from, back in school. Like,
True.
even if she is, because she is attractive at that point in the movie. It's just that she still got that baggage. Like, she thinks that she has to play into that,
By baggage, do you mean she still has that extra 10 to 15 pounds? Because that's not nice.
No, that's not what I was referencing. I was referencing the baggage of her stepmother from hell, but
baggage of her insecurity too.
No, that's what I meant.
For the extra 10 to 15 pounds that she's still carrying. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Dumbest moment in the movie for me was when Ruthie, who had found a good hiding spot in the jacuzzi area, just leaves for, even though the killer has came back twice.
Yes.
And so he's apparently still out there. Oh, he's clearly gone by now. And it's like, come on.
Bitch. Yeah. I don't know. But then again, I don't know what I would do in that situation. How long do you wait?
Yeah, that's true. I don't know how long you would stay in there, but because he has at least stored one body in there, so at some point he could find you.
Yes. And not only that, but like time probably feels like forever.
Yeah, I don't know, but at the same time, I mean, it's just like
it is the dumbest though.
I would have, if she would have been smart, she would have been looking over that body to find if there's anything on him that she could use as a weapon or, something, even if it meant like, if she was the final girl of the movie, she would have been at least even taking her own clothes and like using like them as like a way to like, push that over like the killer's face or something. He's already got a mask on to begin with, so his vision's limited, and then maybe like try to skirt by him or something, but she's just like, I'm gonna run the fuck out of here, and it's like that never works.
Yeah, well, she turned her back too from the fucking door, and it's like, bitch, you're looking. I get you're trying to look behind you, but you haven't. Oh, behind you got less space, but when your back's against or facing the door, you got all of whatever's in that room that you haven't even looked into yet. Oh, my God. I don't know. Yeah, it is the dumbest.
Anything else you want to discuss about this movie before we get out of here? I just, again, to reiterate, I was pleasantly surprised. This is, I wished I hadn't skipped this movie for all these years.
Yeah, this is like
crap.
I definitely slept on this film, which is regrets, total regrets. Obviously, again, I will reiterate my favorites, the Valentine cards. That was I loved those so much. And again, I Googled, I'm trying to find them. Nobody has been smart enough to recreate those or even something similar inspired by the film to bank on. And there are tons of horror Valentines out there. It's like you didn't think to, like, this is a sleeper film because I think way too many people slept on this film.
Yeah, it came out at just the wrong time. It was like, people were feeling Scream fatigue, and it was at a time whenever it was, pretty much its highest. I mean, so
I'm glad I found it now. Like I said, this is a slash for me. Do not pass on this film. Absolutely worth it. It holds up very well. I mean, and if you're an elder emo like us and, you like the horror genre, I think it's a good nostalgic flashback to that time frame,
It's a good time capsule for the time period. I mean, even Marley Shelton says that going back. She said it was so 90s, like 90s, and it is. And it's also one of those, I mean, there's not a whole lot, I mean, as we will get into in the next episode, there's not a whole lot of Valentine's Day horror films. I mean, there's a few more in recent years, but I feel like, especially if you're looking for something around this time period, and I mean, horror's always been linked to like, people going on dates and stuff like that, because what better way, like sex and and fear. I mean, they do play on the same stuff, as weird as that is. It's a good one to watch, with a somebody who's as long as they're into that sort of thing, at least.
So highly recommend this film for sure.
100%. Join us next episode for our discussion of Mighty Bloody Valentine, the original and the remake. And with that, peace be with you.
And with your spirit.